Hello, hello, and welcome all. I am the One Nerd, and I want to welcome you to the inaugural, and I hope to be long-running series called the One Nerd's Opinion Podcast. That's right. I am getting into podcasting. One of the many things that I hope to be doing in the new year. Setting up new ventures, diversifying my content a little bit into more little bit things that I can come up with low effort, small editing things that I can do in between my actual videos or audiobooks that I hope to be coming out with so that people don't forget and I can hold interest. I, like many others, saw an overcrowded marketplace of podcasts and said, me too. And I know I've made that joke before at some point in a previous series start, but I can't remember what it was. But the point is that this is a return of sorts to the One Nerd's Opinion podcast. I hope this to be a return of sorts to where my nickname originated from, which was the One Nerd's Opinion video show. I know that nobody possibly remembers those particular days since I've wiped the slate clean of those original videos, but the whole origin of my name is I had a show called the One Nerd's Opinion video show, where I was just one nerd giving my opinion. And that's where kind of the name came from, the One Nerd's Opinion. I'm just one nerd's opinion, the One Nerd. That's kind of where it all came from. So I hope to come back with a little bit of podcasting here so I could just talk about my opinion on certain things, different news that might be coming out nerd related or maybe nerd adjacent related. I know that there's a lot of things that are going around there. And I just wanted to add to my voice to that spectrum because I feel as though I do have a voice of some kind in order to give that type of opinion to. I kind of was thinking of some words to say here to give like a non-biased take, but of course it's going to be biased. It's my opinion, That's what it's going to be. But I hope that this would be a podcast and a series that would be, I would hope, a little bit less drama focused. I know that a lot that you'll see like with YouTube shows and with podcasts and things that I hope the show will morph into is sort of related around drama or pointing out different like news articles and stories and point out like what's wrong with them or how certain studios are ruining certain things because of putting certain aspects of it, which I'm not going to lie. I mean, one of the stories that I'm going to talk about today is going to be a little bit of that. I'm certainly not going to lie to you here, but I would hope that it's going to be a little bit more reasoned take than that. We're going to have some opinions that are going to be flying out here, but I hope that in the course of this initial podcast and the episodes to come, I hope that I will be able to justify my opinions to all of you in a way that makes sense, a way that people can understand, and what have you. This is going to be very guerrilla starting out for this, so I do apologize for that. There's not going to be a video aspect as of yet. I hope to add some video in upcoming episodes, especially a video with a face cam, because I know that people love the face cam thing, but I don't really have a great setup right now to be able to do that. You really wouldn't see me at my best right now. Who knows? I might invest in a green screen, maybe commission some art, some nice panels, some nice background art, to give my space a little bit more an interesting aesthetic. You never know. It really depends on how things go, not just with how well this podcast does, because I really don't do any of this for massive views. I mean, obviously I want views, That's the whole point of this, the reason that I started this channel was to, get views and get attention for myself and maybe parlay this into something, else bigger in some sort of facet of entertainment. But, I'm not going to stop doing this podcast because I'm not getting enough views, I'm going to stop doing something because I just don't want to do it anymore, But I hope this is just consider this a pilot episode, consider this a what if, consider this a proof of concept, if you will. And I hope that with newer episodes that I can ramp it up a little bit more. I can give a better presentation, better equipment, so that a better setup here and possibly a better chair so you don't hear this chair squeaking. You're going to hear this chair squeaking a lot, and I apologize for that. If you don't like chairs squeaking, I apologize for that. We're also going to have some fun on this, just not with, opinions and what have you. You might have some features, you might have some interviews. I actually do have an interview that I've been wanting to do with a friend of mine who has a project that's going to be coming out pretty soon. I've been wanting to get him involved somehow in my show on my YouTube channel at some point, and we really haven't been able to get our schedules lined up too well, which is, he's working really hard with his particular project and different projects the past couple of years. So I don't doubt that. And, originally I wanted to do it as kind of like a video, like sort of a rip off of a review sort of thing. But I don't think that's very viable, especially in these times, and especially with the crappy setup that I have right now. I think that having a podcast and having a space for him to just be able to talk over just like a voice video chat, would be a better way to go about this. But enough of the setup. I apologize for me rambling on. You're going to get a little bit of this, you're going to get a little bit of the rambling, and I apologize for that, just as I apologize for the squeaky chair. The squeaky chair is going to be the death of me. I'll tell you why. But let's get into what I wanted to talk about today. I have a couple stories lined up that I wanted to talk about. A couple of interesting and not so interesting things, and one story at the very end. You might consider it the main event. That the reason I really wanted to talk about. I really wanted to do this episode now. I actually heard about this news and immediately started recording because I was kind of iffy. It's like, I got some things lined up here, but I'm not sure if I really want to do it. Do I really want to do it? Do I really want to put the effort into talking about this stuff in order to do this? And then I saw this particular news and I said, yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I definitely do. But before we get into that, let's talk about our first story here. Now, I'm sure as many of you know, we just had actually that's one more thing that I want to talk about this. I'm not sure the release days of new episodes. Could be weekly, could be just whenever I feel like, or whenever I feel like there's something to talk about. I'm not sure. I hope it to be weekly. That's the best podcasts are weekly, or at least bi-weekly. So you're not going to hear breaking news on this show. Certainly, you're not going to hear breaking news. I didn't hear about that. What you're going to hear is just an opinion. You're going to hear me talking about just opinions. If you care about that sort of thing, if you've come to this channel because of my other videos or my audiobooks or my reviews or what have you, and you just care what I have to say, hey, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the show. I promise not to say anything too controversial that would keep me from a very lucrative Spotify deal in the future. So let's talk about this first story. Now, I'm sure as many of you know, even if you're not a fan of sports of any real kind, we just had the Super Bowl. Not sure. My days are kind of... they're kind of drifting together here. I work nights, so I actually didn't watch the Super Bowl live this year. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I go over to my family's house. They have people over. And I watch the Super Bowl with them. I've always wanted to get into sports. I really have. I tried to get into football this year, but just certain things just I don't know. There's so many games, and because I know football. I know how it's played. I just don't know any of the teams or like who's the best or like what player's the best. Being from Kansas, I knew Pat Mahomes. I knew that, and I knew that he was like the golden boy last season. But that's about all that I know. But anyway, Super Bowl, we just had it, and the Super Bowl, if it's known for anything, it's not known for the football game anymore. People get excited for two things at the Super Bowl. They get excited for the halftime show, if it's good or bad, which I've heard that the halftime show this year was pretty good. I haven't watched it yet. I hope to find a performance, probably pull it up on Peacock, hopefully at some point, and watch it. Or it's the commercials. And this year, I think we're transitioning more to Super Bowl is more known for a good time to show movie trailers than it is for anything else. And we saw some pretty big ones. I think obviously the biggest one that we saw, I think the one that I was definitely more excited for was a tie between Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which showed so much more than we can imagine, that so much we can get hyped for this movie. I never thought that I would be this excited or this hyped for a video game movie ever, honestly. But Sonic the Hedgehog was a real out of nowhere adaptation, really. I honestly not sure if we're going to see I don't know if we're going to see this kind of excitement for another one that I think will be a contender like Super Mario. I'm still up in the air. It's got a great cast, but I'm just not sure if that can really work. If that story could work. But hey, you know, Sonic has had, you know, storylines and what have you like that, so it's a little bit easier for that. But it showed us a lot more of what to expect from that movie. We got a little bit more Knuckles, we got a little bit more of Robotnik, we saw a real confrontation, a real fight between Sonic and Knuckles, and we finally saw like a big giant Eggman robot, which I really can't fathom how good this movie looks. Like, I shouldn't be this excited for a video game adaptation, let alone for something like Sonic. But I think that this trailer really showed off what the movie should be. It wasn't a trailer that showed, you know, a lot of the human element. I mean, you could still tell the human characters are still there. You know what I mean? You can tell that they're there. But it's clear that, at least from this trailer, it seems to reflect on more of the Sonic characters. And I say human, obviously Robotnik's a human, but he's a Sonic character, so that doesn't really count. That doesn't really... I'm talking about original characters. But I think the biggest trailer that people were both anticipating and I think came out of nowhere was a new trailer and a TV spot for the new Doctor Strange movie, Multiverse of Madness. Now, this is a movie that I am honestly hyped for a while. Mostly because I did like the first Doctor Strange movie, obviously. I did like it, but with Sam Raimi attached to it as the director, Sam Raimi is a director that I will watch whatever that man puts out. I mean, I saw, I've had the great opportunity to see a lot of his movies in theaters, even the ones that I wasn't even born to see, like Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. I remember having a really good theater experience for Drag Me to Hell, and of course the Spider-Man trilogy, so many others, and it's really great to see him back in Marvel, and it's clear that he's bringing a Sam Raimi style to this already that we can see even in the little flashes. But I think the biggest story and the biggest thing to expect out of this is that this seems to be a continuation of a trend that Marvel seems to be going with these movies, which is the multiverse is king. Because obviously this movie is, I mean, obviously it's called Multiverse of Madness, obviously. But I mean, this is going farther than just the multiverse. I mean, there's the multiverse, and then there's a multiverse where you see, like, you know, what if? You know, what if you go to different multiverses and you see different interpretations of different characters? You got Captain Carter, you got Marvel Zombies, you got what have you. But this multiverse, I think, has, of course, elements of that, and it has elements of let's reference the rest of the Marvel properties that we weren't able to bring into this because we weren't a big conglomerate at that time. And this is bringing that in because in this trailer, we didn't see him, but we got one line reading from Patrick Stewart, which seems to indicate, obviously, we didn't see him, but this could be another one of those worst kept secrets in Marvel movies since No Way Home's definitely wasn't going to have the other Spider-Man. Oh no, Andrew Garfield's not in it. Oh no, Tobey Maguire's not in it. No, guys, they're not in it. I know we're bringing back all the previous villains, but the other Spider-Man are not in it. No, guys, definitely not. They did a better job with that, I'll say that, than than in Captain America Civil War. I'll say that. That's one they should have hid. That's one they should have hit. We didn't need a stinger, to see that movie. We didn't need a Spider-Man reveal in the trailer to say, oh man, now I'm hyped for Civil War. No, you were already doing Civil War. Anyway. But this seems to be their opportunity to bring in... to try to bring in the X-Men, I think. I mean, just because Professor X is in this movie does not mean that this is going to be the opportunity to bring in the X-Men into our MCU. Because this seems to be a culmination of some leaks that we saw previously for the Multiverse of Madness, which obviously, you take any leak with a grain of salt. But there are aspects of this that seem to confirm, not 100%, but at least somewhat confirm the fact that those leaks were real. I'm not going to go through all the leaks, certainly, but the I think the biggest things that we saw in these leaks is the fact that Charles Xavier is going to be in it. We're going to see a movie version of the Illuminati. If you're not sure, the Illuminati is a comic concept where some of the biggest names in the Marvel Universe came together to form a Illuminati in order to control and try to keep some aspects of the Marvel Universe in the comics together. We had Charles Xavier, we had Mr. Fantastic, we had Black Bolt, we had Black Panther. I think Namor was in there. It's been a while since I've read that run. I think Namor was among them. But we could be seeing, with Charles Xavier back, we could be seeing a Illuminati in the MCU, which is a wonderful concept to bring Patrick Stewart back for one more run in there. Although the leaks also did tell us that we're going to get some sort of psychic battle between Charles Xavier and Wanda Maximoff, which I don't think we need. But whatever. Again, we're still far off from finding out about that, honestly. So I think that there's speculation to be had, especially with we seem to get confirmation between seeing some Ultrons in the trailer and seeing little glimpses, but we also seem to have gotten the confirmation of the leak of Tom Cruise being in this movie. Tom Cruise playing a multiverse version of Iron Man, Tony Stark, who not only seems to be playing a multiverse version of Iron Man / Tony Stark, but seems to be playing a interpretation of the superior Iron Man. If you're not sure of the superior Iron Man, during a one of the weird sort of reset reboot moments that Marvel has, which they've had a lot lately, there was a comic run called Superior Iron Man, going off of the take of Superior Spider-Man, in which Doc Ock took over Spider-Man, Peter Parker's body for a little bit and kind of became not a villain per se, but definitely a more meaner and darker version of Spider-Man taking over that body. And in this, Tony Stark, not sure if he was taken over by any evil force. I'm not sure. I don't think so. But he was certainly a more anti-hero bad guy. Hey, I know what I'm doing. I know what to do for the greater good, so I'm gonna put on this shiny silver suit that shows my face all the time. I'm not covering up anymore. This is me. I'm doing this, and I'm being a little bit more controlling. So that seems to be what we're going to be getting with this. Tom Cruise coming in. We saw a little bit of glimpses. You can see online different pictures of, there's a fight scene between there and some of the characters of this figure in flames, which seems to people looking at the shots and looking at sort of a distinctive mustache seem to indicate this is a Tony Stark-like figure, which could indicate a Tom Cruise, which we have seen some leaked photos of Tom Cruise seemingly on set in a full body mocap suit. So this does appear to be it, and I think that's I think that this is going to be interesting. I kind of wish that Marvel would be just a little bit more distinct. Obviously, we knew stuff like No Way Home. We knew the spiders were going to be there. I think they could have kept it a little bit closer to the chest and not shown the fact that Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin were in this, so we could be a little bit more surprised. But then again, without them being that's all the movie is, so there's not really much to show. You know, you got to show something in the trailer. I understand that. But Multiverse of Madness coming out soon. We got a new Super Bowl trailer. Sonic 2 also coming. There were some others. You know, we got some others. We got the new Jurassic Park, which, I mean, I'm a fan of the original, and they're doing the same thing everybody else does. Hey, let's bring back the original cast. Doesn't everybody look older and interacting with everything else? I honestly, I haven't watched a lot of I think I watched like the first movie of this new trilogy, but I don't remember watching the second one, so I can't really say how hyped I am for this one. I may check it out, maybe, but I'm not falling over myself. I've been a big fan of Jurassic Park and Lost World, but 3 and everything else, I don't know. I can't get excited for this. Not to say that I'm sure it won't be good. I'm sure it will be good. I can't personally get excited for it. I'm not going to get hyped for this, you know. And whatever. Moving on from Super Bowl trailers and possibilities of leaks being true. If you want to look up those leaks, Rob Liefeld seemed to confirm that a lot of the leaks are true. And actually, another thing, people are saying that they can see Deadpool in the newest Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness trailer, along with Captain Carter's shield. So there's a possibility that that's just a reference in the poster. You know, multiverse. You know, Captain Carter's part of the multiverse now. She's getting her own comic. Could just be that, or maybe we're going to see it in a live action interpretation with the actress back for Peggy Carter, and we could be seeing a live action Captain Carter. Could be good. Would be good to see Deadpool again, even if it is in a PG-13 setting, not full R, like we known him. But whatever. It would be good to see him back. I'm optimistic on this. With a lot of things, a lot of people don't like to be optimistic on this because they, it is cynical, and we will talk about cynical. We will talk about cynical nostalgia grabs in a second, but I'm a little bit more optimistic on this because so far with the nostalgia grabs, Marvel has been doing batting 1,000. No Way Home was a pretty great movie. It was a little shallow in the storyline here, but it was good to see everybody back, and I think they did a good story. I think they did the best story that they could with bringing everybody back. But moving on, this time we are moving on to the actual next story on here, is another trailer that we saw for the Super Bowl. Especially since it was happening on NBC, so they wanted to put this out, is that Law & Order is coming back. Yeah, that's right. Law & Order, the original Law & Order, is coming back for, I believe they said its 21st season. I believe that's where they left off. We did see some returning faces in the new trailer, but I do hope that it's not going to heavily rely too much on old faces. I think we can agree that a lot of the good things about Law and Orders that they did were able to have that rotating cast. It is good to see. I mean, I won't say that I'm sad to see Sam Waterston back as Jack McCoy. I mean, obviously, he's one of the outstanding, like the pinnacle figures in Law and Order history. But I hope that they will use this as an opportunity to definitely bring in some more people. Start out with the nostalgia, right? start off with the nostalgia. Pick up where you left off. They seem to have Anthony Anderson back, which I did like. I did really like his Law and Order run. Because he was actually on Law and Order and SVU. I liked him on both of those. And now that Blackish seems to be over, he seems to be coming back to Law and Order to pick up where he left off, because he was one of the last people on that show before it ended. And I hope that they will have a mix of maybe Anthony Anderson gets a new partner. Maybe he is the old veteran now, and he gets a new partner that's going to start, that trend that you always do. So hopefully that is the case. We'll bring in also some new blood in order to keep this fresh and original, because while I do like the fact that Law and Order is coming back, because I do love shows like that. I mean, SVU is probably, oddly enough, the show that I have watched the most of, at least episode one. There are shows that I've binged, hundreds and hundreds of times, like obviously Simpsons, but I stop after a certain point. American Dad, Bob's Burgers, some Adult Swim shows, stuff like that. But I think that Law and Order and SVU, just from the amount of episodes that they have, is probably a show that I've watched so much. And SVU right now is getting very stale. And the spinoff of SVU, which I cannot even remember I know it's not Criminal Intent, Organized Crime, I think it is. It's with Stabler came back, which I could do a whole thing about Stabler coming back and then them killing his wife for no reason, just to give him some sort of motivation and not giving him the happy ending that Stabler deserved. But whatever. SVU has gotten very stale. It started way before the people talk about TV shows downhill and they talk too much about politics. It started way before like anything with like Trump or anything like that. It really did. Like, that did not affect the quality of SVU. It started long before that, honestly. Like, it started. I would say it started closer to the Gamergate episode, but that's still. I guess that's still related to all of that. But I will say that I am honestly excited to see Law and Order come back. I hope that it's still able to keep the same quality that it had. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to go too crazy. Obviously, it's going to. That's the whole gimmick of the show, is that it pulls from headlines. I hope that we don't get too many crazy pull from the headlines things. I don't want to see a Trump episode. I don't want to see a January 6th episode. I don't want to see a what was that? We'll probably get some BLM episodes, makes sense. I don't want to see I've forgotten the name of it now. That those people who set up a town who just like set up like a town, like took over like a block and then just like built a little shanty town. I don't want to see that episode. I don't care. Like when we say pull from the headlines, I want to see like actual cases like be translated and interpreted in this. I don't want to see that. I think some of the worst episodes are when they got a little bit too close to reality on this. Like, I think the episode of SVU I hate the most is the Michael Jackson episode, the Michael Jackson surrogate episode, where it basically condemned Michael Jackson to basically saying, yes, he did it. Yeah, we can dance around it and say, oh, we don't know. We don't have any proof that he did it, but he definitely did it. Michael Jackson's a weirdo. He definitely molested kids, which is just a disgusting piece of television, honestly. Anything that came out in that condemned Michael for that without any of the facts, nobody knowing anything going on, was just absolutely ridiculous and absolutely disgusting. And I hate that episode more than the Gamergate episode, because at least the Gamergate episode was funny. At least that had one of the Pauls in it. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, I'll be watching it day one because I want it to be good. I want it to be interesting, and I want it to be something. So hopefully. a little late breaking news in this. I said that there wasn't going to be any breaking news, and there isn't. But this is as close to breaking news as you're going to get on this, because this is something else that happened right before. This is something else that happened right before I started recording the podcast. Is big in wrestling news. That's right. I am a wrestling fan, and sometimes we're going to talk about wrestling stuff here. So here we go. We just got word from all sources on this. This is AEW news, but it relates to WWE as well. That WWE legend, that wrestling legend and prodigy, Cody Rhodes and his wife Brandy Rhodes have left AEW. They are gone. They have announced that they are leaving AEW, both of them. We did get rumors of Cody leaving for a bit because he was making it very clear that his contract was up, that he was going to be a free agent very soon after his match with Sammy Guevara for the TNT title. He made it very clear that his contract was up. And I think that we knew that he wasn't going to be doing anything with AEW, but I don't think that we knew exactly this. I don't think that we knew exactly this was going to happen. But they did announce that Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes are leaving AEW effective immediately. And suddenly the wrestling world, wrestling Twitter, wrestling Reddit, wrestling everything exploded in speculation on what's going to happen. Is Cody Rhodes going back to the WWE? Is Cody Rhodes going to go back to Japan? Is Cody Rhodes going to help with the revival of ROH? Who knows? I honestly think that what's a little bit more likely, because I don't see Cody Rhodes going back to WWE for a multitude of reasons. Now I see a few reasons why he might go back to WWE, but I can see a lot of reasons why he wouldn't. Here's why Cody Rhodes would go back to WWE. Okay? Here's the reasons why Cody Rhodes would go back to the WWE. Let me just kind of go over everything here. He's a bigger star now. He's a bigger known name than he was in the WWE. People know him. He went around a little bit. And now I think that he would command a bigger name recognition in WWE. And WWE can say to themselves that they brought over somebody else from the competition. That's another big reason for WWE to jump on the opportunity to get Cody Rhodes. Plus, WWE at this point, I mean, it's been like this for a while, but I think it's a lot more blatant now that WWE is not a wrestling company anymore. They're not interested in wrestling. I don't think that the top people on there, aside from like obviously certain bookers, but I think the top talent can pretty much say that they're not interested in wrestling. They don't care about wrestling. They don't like wrestling. There have been rumors going around at certain tryouts at NXT that they're not looking for indie wrestlers. They're not looking for people who have worked their way up in the indies and have worked indie shows and developed their skills. They don't care. They don't care anymore. What they're looking for is we're kind of regressing a little bit. Because I can remember a time when the women's division of WWE was not about women's wrestling. It was about who looked good blonde, and who looked just like best in the ring and could do things outside of the ring, appear in magazine shoots and photo shoots and do all this stuff. It wasn't about wrestling. It was about who looked the best. And this seems to be what they're doing now. Developing new stars, developing their own talent that are non-wrestlers, but they think that they can teach a style of wrestling in a very short amount of time. Because it's not about the wrestling to them. It's about them as a product. And in a lot of ways, they're right. WWE, in a lot of ways, is way too big to fail. Because they are, as much as the product sucks, and it does. It really does. It's really frustrating to watch WWE, which is why I don't. I have actually watched wrestling consistently in a few years. I did watch the Rumble recently, but obviously I'm skipping the Saudi Blood show. I'm not watching that. I honestly can't think of anyone who would watch it at this point, except for super hardcore WWE marks. But it's a show that is clear doesn't care about wrestling anymore. It still has some big wrestling names, and it even has secured some people back by just offering them the word. It's weird to me, and I understand people have different motivations for doing different things, but it just seems so messed up to me that WWE is essentially keeping somebody like Mustafa Ali hostage and not allowing him to be let out of his contract after just going through a series of high-profile firings, not letting go of Mustafa Ali. But then you have wrestlers who you would think not that long ago would be all about wrestling, who would want to be who would want to be part of a revolution like AEW, like a Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn, coming back and re-signing with WWE for what seems like just distinctly non-wrestling things. Now, I'm not gonna let me be clear on something. Let me be absolutely clear on something. I don't care what any wrestler does. If Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn want to stay in WWE, that's perfectly fine. I think if anyone can get into WWE and get a high money contract with WWE, because they clearly do have money to spare despite the firings that are going around. They clearly have money to spare. In fact, there's rumors going around that they're bulking up to sell, which I don't see as too far-fetched, but we've been hearing rumors like that forever. But if Kevin Owens, who's getting up there, and Sami Zayn, who's getting the same, wants to stay in WWE, well, you'll get a guaranteed money, and yeah, you'll have a sort of a longer road schedule, and you'll have to do all of that. But especially with Kevin Owens, who has a family and kid to support, and if he wants to stay in the WWE because he knows that he's going to get a certain amount of money, then fair play to him. But especially someone like Sami Zayn to come back and to stay with WWE and to do so for seemingly just for the reason of getting the IC title and doing a program with Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania. I mean, I hope he's getting paid. I hope that Sami Zayn gets paid an insane amount. I hope that he gets paid. So I'm talking 6, 7, 8 figures. I hope the best for that man. I hope that he's getting his pockets filled, his bank account stuffed. I hope he's getting that cheddar. Honestly, I hope that he is. Which I'm assuming would be one of the big reasons that Cody Rhodes would be going back. And of course, WWE's, getting back to my original point, WWE's not a wrestling company anymore. They can be very, very lucrative for somebody who wants to be more of an entertainer side of the entertainment business than a wrestling side. Which I think we've already shown that WWE, for the right person, can be the perfect springboard to somebody who wants to start a very lucrative movie career. Not all the time, but it definitely has that springboard effect if you are the right person. If you're a Batista, if you're The Rock, if you're a John Cena. Do I think that Cody Rhodes has that potential? It's possible. It's possible. I mean, he wasn't terrible on the Arrow. Wasn't particularly good either, but he wasn't terrible. And it's clear he has enough charisma to be a host on that Go Big Show talent show that I've never watched, but I've seen a lot of previews for, because AEW shows a lot of previews for it. But whatever they decide to do, honestly, I'm just kind of glad that we won't be seeing Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes on AEW TV for a while. I had my problems with Cody Rhodes. I had my problems with Brandy Rhodes, especially. I actually, my most recent TV taping that I went to when they were in Kansas City, when Cody Rhodes was working the show, and I and I Joey Legend him. If you don't know what that means, it's a reference to when somebody makes their entrance to just stand up and turn your back on them while they're doing their entrance, which I know is lame. I know makes me a super mark, but hey, that's what I stand by my convictions. I don't go out and I don't, just boo a guy. Because obviously, if you don't like somebody, booing them is the worst thing that you can do. But hey, whatever. I hope the best for Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes, honestly, wherever they go. If they go back to WWE, fine. If they do, then that's fine. I'll lose a little bit of respect for Cody Rhodes, which I didn't really have that much to begin with. But hey, I mean, he's going to have the last laugh. He's going to be making all the money. And I'm just going to be some nerd sitting in my 1-bedroom apartment, making a podcast that nobody's going to listen to. So joke's on me, joke's on me. So seriously, all the best to Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes in their future endeavors. Honestly, I may not be fans of theirs, especially their recent ego runs in AEW, but hey, at least it's over. At least it's over for now. And wherever they show up, I just hope it's not Impact or ROH or New Japan or anything like that. But getting into that kind of off-the-cuff sort of opinion piece for them leaving, so that was just like super breaking news. Let's talk about another piece of breaking news. Let's talk about the whole reason that I had the inspiration, I had the motivation to record this particular podcast today, as my chair squeaks uncontrollably because you can tell that I am fired up to talk about this. We got another new trailer that came out today. We got another new trailer. Trailers galore happening today, or happening in the last couple days. We got a trailer for something that was rumored, that we already knew was technically going to happen, but now we've seen the horror. Speaking of horror, that wind is really blowing outside. I think it knows what to expect here. We've seen the horror of what to expect from Disney Plus. We have our Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers reboot, and oh my God, does it look terrible! It looks terrible. It looks absolutely awful. And I have no idea what happened in this particular instance. If nobody's seen this trailer, then I honestly doubt that, because everyone has to have seen this trailer at this point, because it just dropped on Twitter, just dropped on the Disney Plus page, and it is everywhere right now. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's quote retweeting it. Honestly, I've seen more people talk about this than the Lord of the Rings or Rings of Power trailer, which is a whole other can of worms I'm not even going to talk about, because I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that TV show. I'm definitely probably never going to watch it. Who knows? Maybe I will. But this one has been blowing up, and for good reason. Because it looks absolutely awful. You guys remember Space Jam? No, not that Space Jam. Space Jam 2. You guys remember that? This turned up to the nth degree. Now I know what you're saying. Oh, I watched that trailer. Nerd. I watched that trailer. And this looks to be a little bit of Roger Rabbit 2. This is the Roger Rabbit 2 we never. It even has Roger Rabbit in this trailer. It has Roger Rabbit in it. It's a mix of 2D and different animation styles and live action. Isn't that exactly what we wanted out of a Roger Rabbit 2? Don't insult Roger Rabbit. Okay? Don't insult Roger Rabbit with that comparison. I know Roger Rabbit is in the trailer, and I love that Roger Rabbit is in the trailer. Any excuse to see Roger Rabbit. I just picked up Roger Rabbit on 4K, and I can't wait to watch it. I haven't watched it yet, but I really do want to watch it. I need to have a movie night where I rewatch Roger Rabbit in 4K, because Roger Rabbit is one of the best movies that Disney has ever put out. And seeing him in this trailer, you know what? I'm going to watch it tonight. I'm going to watch it tonight because I'm so upset about this trailer. I need to know what good... I need to know what love is. I need to know what a good movie is. I think the biggest issue that I have about this trailer is that it's continuing the trend of nostalgia bait. We talked about nostalgia bait before. We talked about nostalgia bait for things like No Way Home, and we talked about nostalgia bait with things that seem to be happening with Multiverse of Madness. But this is nostalgia bait This is nostalgia bait in the spirit of Space Jam 2, where the plot is wafer thin. It doesn't matter what the plot is. The plot of this is that Chip and Dale, obviously they're not a thing anymore. They broke up. This is a world where, things are real. I still can't figure out what this is, if they were actually Rescue Rangers or if there was a TV show or whatever. I don't know. I honestly don't. I think it was a TV show, because there's meta jokes in here about, the same thing that everybody does. Why don't we do this thing? And let's point out that it's a reboot, and let's point out that it's a revival. And isn't that clever? No, it's not. It wasn't clever the first time somebody did it. And it's certainly not clever when the 200th person has done it. Look, if you wanted to make a revival of something, it's perfectly reasonable to make a revival of something. It certainly is. There are successful revivals. There are successful remakes. There are successful reboots. You want to know about a successful reboot, a successful remake in Disney's own lexicon? Look no further, boys and girls. Look no further than Ducktales. Ducktales, what did Ducktales do? Did Ducktales do like a meta commentary about Ducktales? Like it's set in the future, like after the TV show, and it pointed out all the things that were stupid about the original show, like this and that, and wasn't this crazy? It wasn't this out of date, and all the things that we did. We need a reboot, and we need to do that. No, it told an original, compelling, interesting story that you could enjoy if you were a fan of the original show or not. Now, did Ducktales have nods, nostalgia bait to the original show and the original stuff that came out there? Certainly. Had a whole episode involving around a sort of sequel to Goof Troop, where we finally got a confirmation of the Max and Roxanne ship, that they actually did go on and live a happy life together. We got a semi-sequel to Tailspin, where we didn't see Baloo, but we saw the other characters grown up and seemingly move on from their adventures and what have you, and that was great. We saw a little cameo of things like Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and even Gummy Bears. We saw a Gummy Bears reference in that, and of course, the greatest thing of all, a revival of sorts of Darkwing Duck, where it passed the torch, if you will, and should have gotten its own spinoff, and I'm sure was planned for its own spinoff, but something happened along the line, or it wasn't creative enough, it wasn't meta enough for them. No, not like this. No, not like this, where all we have to do is just make references after references after references. And some of the worst animation that I didn't want to do any editing or any kind of video with this particular episode, because it was just going to be a low effort pilot just to kind of see if I could gauge interest and really prove to myself if I even wanted to do this. And I think the fact that I'm getting this animated kind of proves that I do want to do this if I have the right story. But you look at a comparison between the mix of 2D animation and live action footage of the original Roger Rabbit, and you look at this, you would think that the Chip and Dale would be the older movie, because the 2D animation in this looks terrible. They're trying for that. It looks like 2D animation, but it's not 2D animation. It's clearly just CG animation that's made to look 2D, which always looks bad. I mean, it just looks like a faux cel shaded animation to make it look like 2D, but it's not 2D. Why they couldn't just do 2D? Well, I'm sure that would be a lot harder and cost a lot more money, and why do that? Who cares, right? This is just a nostalgia bait movie that we can just throw up on Disney Plus that kids will watch because they don't know any better, and adults will watch because, oh, I remember that. I remember that thing. I remember that. Oh, and Lonely Island's in it. Oh, you don't say. Lonely Island's in it. I'm sure they're going to do a funny song talking about Rescue Rangers and how, you know, how great it was or how dumb it is. I don't know. I haven't really gauged the feel for the show yet. Or movie. It's a movie, excuse me. Look, the bottom line is that we don't have to watch it. I'm not going to watch it, certainly. I might see some clips on YouTube. I'm sure everybody and their mom will do a video about it, talking about how bad it is, and they're just watching it to see how bad it is and how Disney messed it up and what have you. But really, I implore you, if you see the trailer, you have to see what this is going to be. We all watched Space Jam 2 just to see how bad it was. I know I fell under that spell. I know I shouldn't have, but it was during the time where everything was free on HBO Max, so I just figured I might as well see it, and I regretted it. It was a terrible movie, and I'm never doing that again. I implore you, please don't see the Rescue Rangers reboot. Please don't, reference it. Please don't watch it because you want to see how bad it is. Please. If you have a genuine interest in seeing it, if you think it's going to be a funny movie, then by all means, see it. Watch it. I don't care. But if you're like me and can see the flaws in it and can see what it is that they're doing and the cynical cash grab, nostalgic bait that it is, please skip it. Because there's so many things wrong with it. The bad 2D animation, the meta commentary about nothing, making fun of themselves but not really. Again, I have to point it out again, the terrible faux 2D animation. They tried to do like this whole thing. It's like, oh, well, we have to make the 2D animation look 3D or otherwise it's not going to, look the same. Even though Roger Rabbit was doing it. Roger Rabbit was able to do it. You're able to make 2D animation seem like it was lifelike. It was actually on the screen. You guys can't figure it out? Ugh. And of course, you got your typical Seth Rogen cameo in it. Oh, was that Seth Rogen? Oh, you don't say. I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell it was him at first, but then he did the Seth Rogen laugh. Oh, and now it's funny. It's Seth Rogen's in a thing. Is he acting? Is he playing a character? No, he's just playing Seth Rogen like he always does, and that's the joke. Oh, he did the Seth Rogen laugh. That's the whole joke of the thing. Hate Seth Rogen. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him in everything that he does. He ruined a perfectly good Green Hornet movie. We could have gotten an actual Green Hornet movie, but no, we had to cast Seth Rogen. Why? I didn't want to get angry on this show. That was sort of the gimmick of my previous show, that I got angry at things. But heck, that's what you get sometimes when you have an opinion. That's what you get sometimes when you have an opinion. You get a little angry. But you know what? That's what I hope to do with this particular show, is give myself an outlet. Give other people an outlet, maybe. Maybe they can just listen to my voice, listen to my opinions. Maybe they disagree with them. Maybe they don't. And that's what I hope to do with this show going forward, to expand this particular podcast, talk about other things, talk about other stuff, maybe get some interesting people to talk about this. Again, I've been talking about that interview that I wanted to do for a while. And hey, maybe this show will fizzle out. Maybe I'll get bored with it. Maybe I'll get so many, thumbs down because of the squeaky chair that I won't do it anymore. Who knows? That's the wonder of having a channel like this and not having to rely on YouTube or any kind of streaming for like an actual job. I can just do whatever. And that's really great. But you know what? It's my day off. Actually, I told you I work nights, so it's my day off, and I actually got off work 7, 8, 9, 10, like 4 hours ago. And as of right now, it's time for lunch. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sign off. I'm going to put this baby into an editor really quickly, render it a little bit, start the upload process, and maybe do that a little bit later. But you know what I'm definitely going to do? I'm definitely going to get some lunch. So I'm starting to feel a little bit hungry. And I could definitely use some lunch right now. So, and I hope that wherever you are, you're about to enjoy some nice food too. I hope you enjoyed this inaugural pilot proof of concept episode of the One Nerd's Opinion podcast. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, why not give it a thumbs up? Why not share it? Why not add it to your favorites? You know, why not comment what you thought about the stuff that I talked about? What's your opinion on these different topics? What do you think? I definitely want to hear. This isn't just about my opinion, even though the show is called the One Nerd's Opinion podcast. Everyone can be that nerd who gives their opinion. So if you have something to say, post it down below. Put it in a comment. Seriously, I want to hear from you, and I hope that you'll want to hear from me in the future as I expand this show, make it a little bit better, make it a little bit more presentable. Add some nice visual effects like all the big boys got. And until next time, I'm the One Nerd, and that was just my opinion.